Great to see all of you. Thanks for joining. And this is a session just on sleep, and it's a very, I feel it's a very unadorned session that we're going to do, in the sense that I was reviewing kind of sleep practices that are on a lot of the apps and online. And so actually there's a lot of them if you ever want to access them. A lot of them are very fancy. They have, like really nice soothing music, and they have celebrity voices, and they're very well produced. But what I wanted to share today is a practice that you can just do on your own, and you don't have to use the app, and it's just a very simple, straightforward practice. So I thought that would be might be helpful to have that also in your back pocket. Before we do the practice, which is it's a kind of combination of body scan and breath practice. I thought I would also just highlight, in terms of the setup for sleep. I know this has also been well covered, but it feels worth it to talk about. A couple things around just the setup for sleep that I thought I'd share that I do. One is trying to stop the daily routine at a set time each day. And so at night, rather than, allowing work to go right until the end. I cannot go to sleep if I work until right before I try to fall asleep. There's no way I'm going to fall asleep. My mind is just too activated. And using a prompt or a system, something to make that stop. So my method of doing it is my internet router that controls my Wi-Fi is set to a digital timer, and the digital timer just cuts the power off. And it's great. There's an audible click. It goes click, and my internet just shuts off. So I can't, if I happen to be working, that's it. It's over. I can restart it, but it's a little bit of a pain to restart. So it's just enough barrier that, if I'm not working and I'm doing something terrible, like burning time watching YouTube videos, it'll just stop me. And the effort to go turn it on again is enough that I won't resume. And then I'll start my kind of wind down routine. And then for wind down, I think there's two things to think about: is prepping the body and prepping the mind. So for the body, I like to just do a couple, just simple stretches. I have on my yoga mat, and I use my foam roller. I don't know if you have one of these foam rollers. They're gold. So just, kind of get the body relaxed and try to get rid of muscle tension from the day. And then prepping the mind. At night, before I go to sleep, I like to journal, and that's when I do my daily journal practice. And then I like to read nonfiction. If I read fiction, I'm not going to sleep either. I'm just going to get engrossed and I'll be up very late. So those two things, that's the plan. And then the practice, as I mentioned, it's very straightforward, and I'd like us to do it together. And I should highlight, it's really good for an active mind, right? If you have things from the day that you're still thinking through, like obviously, very frequently there's work things that are on my mind, or different community stuff, and we're trying to navigate. I should highlight, it's probably not enough for an agitated mind, right? So if you're in a state of distress, this is not going to do it. And 2 weeks ago, we had a racial incident in our county, and I was working on it, and notes were coming through late at night. I ended up staying up late for that, because that's just how it is. But just the typical active mind, or when you suddenly get interrupted and you get woken up in the middle of the night and you try to fall back asleep and you can't, it works great for that, right? And so this is, I feel, for the kind of active mind, or the disruption in sleep when you're trying to go back to sleep. And to me, the most important thing about it, and I think why it works, is that it's a meditation, and I keep in mind that I'm grateful to have an extra time to do some more meditation at night. And so instead of trying to get to sleep, it's a meditation that happens to end up with me getting asleep. It's like it's like a happy byproduct. But my intention is not to try to sleep. My intention is to try to do some extra meditation. And I actually think that's the real secret of this, is that I get woken up in the middle of the night and I try to fall back asleep and I can't. And I say, okay, well, you know what? I will use this time to meditate. What a bonus. What a bonus. I always want to do more meditation and I never have enough time. This is extra. And I'm so happy about that. So I think that is, to me, one of the most important things. And for position, I like to use a little bit of a different position than my normal sleep position. Again, it helps reinforce in my mind that I'm doing a meditation. I'm not trying to get myself to fall asleep. Because I don't know if you've experienced this, but sometimes trying to fall asleep just makes you more awake. You're like, I can't sleep. And then you're just like kind of stressing about that, or I do that. So I'm a side sleeper. And what I like to do is lie on my back when I do this practice. I usually have my legs propped. I will demo it when I do the practice, but I like to just lie on my back because that's just different from my normal sleep position. And again, it's signaling to me in my mind, I'm practicing. I am not trying to sleep. And somehow I inadvertently fall asleep on this practice, and I end up in the morning like back into my normal sleep position. So it's not like it ends up making me sleep in an awkward position. In the morning I wake up, I'm like, oh, what do you know? I was back to normal. So those are the suggestions. And then one other suggestion I'd make on this, the start of the practice is some deep breaths. And what I recommend for that, or the way that I do the deep breaths, I just like to do a slow inhale all the way till my lungs feel full, like the kind of belly, everything feels full, and then exhale all the way till it's empty. And it's not like a huge, powerful breath. It's just like, I just keep inhaling until it's done and then exhaling until it's done. There are multiple ways of trying to do deep breaths. There's like box method where you hold, inhale, hold, exhale. And so it may be worth to explore different ways of doing it, counting on the inhale, counting on the exhale. This is the way that I like to do it. So I just thought I'd highlight that ahead of time. And so kind of the sequence is deep breaths, kind of scan of the body, and then observation of the breath. And that's the general sequence. And if you like, we can do this together. Actually, I'm gonna demo it just because it makes it easier for me to properly do the exact practice when I'm actually lying down. So I'm gonna change my camera angle, and I will try to keep my eyes open so I don't actually fall asleep. Hopefully this, in a way that would be really embarrassing, and in a way that would also be a very good demo, but I'm gonna try to stay awake for this whole thing. So, so as I mentioned, I like to just, I like to do a different position than my normal sleep position. And you don't have to lie down. You can if you want. And I encourage you now to just relax, find a way to, if you're sitting, stay seated in a way that allows you to be relaxed but alert. If you're lying down, just fully let the body relax. You can close your eyes or avert your gaze to a soft focus. And let's start this practice with several deep breaths. Again, just inhaling till full, exhaling till empty. And when we inhale to the point where you feel the chest and the belly just fully expanding. And when it's full, exhale slowly until empty. So let's do several deep breaths. Now resuming normal breathing. We'll do a quick survey of the body. I'd like to just make sure we're not harboring any tension anywhere. As we look at each part of the body, just try to relax the body, that portion of the body, and if you want, it may help to do a slight tension there and then a release. So, for example, we'll start with the face. And notice how the face feels, if there's any tension there. If we want to do a slight tension and release, we just feel a little bit, maybe scrunch your forehead and your nose just slightly, and then let it release. Similarly for our cheeks and our mouth, you can do a small, tight smile, just to tense and then release. The jaw relax. Similarly, we can look at the throat. Front of the throat, do a slight tensing, bringing your chin down a little, and then a release. When we're tensing, we're not tensing a lot, just a tiny bit, just to feel the muscles and then let them relax. And feel the trapezius muscles, the upper shoulder, back of the neck, slowly tense it and let it release. Bring the shoulders down. Look at the arms and the hands. Encourage you maybe to take the hands and do a light fist. And then let them relax. The arms relax, let them sink down. Into our stomach muscles. Light tension, release. All the tension go from the stomach. You can do your glutes, the lower back, slight tension. Let them release. Upper legs, thighs, you can tension and release. If you're lying down or sitting, just notice the weight of the thighs as they sink into the surface underneath you. The lower body, your lower calves and your ankles. Do a quick tension there. Release. The feet, and curl them up, point them towards your head, and just lightly let them release. And you can just notice the weight of your body wherever it's resting. Notice if there's any tension anywhere. If there is, you can make any adjustments you need to relax. Again, consciously letting everything relax. Face is relaxed. Shoulders are down. Not much tension anywhere. Try to let it go. And as we've resumed normal breathing, now let's just observe the breath. Just notice what it feels like to breathe. Notice the feeling of the breath as it comes in through the nose or the mouth, the throat. You can notice the movement of your chest and your belly as you inhale and exhale. Wherever is most noticeable to you. let's observe the breath. Again, being grateful that we have this opportunity to do our meditation practice. Just keep slowly observing the breath. At any point, start following different thoughts, just gently bringing our attention back to following the breath. Now, as we close this practice, you can gently open your eyes if you had them closed, and bring our attention back to the call. I will sit back up. And thank you for joining in that practice. I was glad I remembered to keep my eyes open, because otherwise I would have been snoozing. And again, that's the practice. It's a very, very simple practice, but yeah, I find it quite fail-safe, or just quite consistently. I will just gently pass on into sleep. And I mentioned it's great for the active mind condition. For kind of agitation, what I like to do for that is if I'm really agitated, like I'm emotionally kind of upset, I actually need to do something physical to get rid of that. And so I can't just do this practice. It's not enough. So what I tend to do is do something physical, like, I'm more active, like stretching, or maybe, I used to do this until I had some trouble late at night in certain places I lived. I used to just go for a walk or skateboard at night or something, but I do something physical. And then I do my whole wind down kind of practice, like, prepping the body, prepping the mind, and then I can do this practice. But it does mean it's longer, and so that's why I do end up staying up late if I'm agitated. But just the normal active mind of like planning and thinking about things in the day, and this seems to work wonderful for that. So, or wonderfully. So, so please use that practice as you will.